with Thai Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha, and talk about a wide range of things. I mean, the South problems, I mean, and cooperation in many areas. Yes. And then after that, they held a joint press conference together.
Yes.
And after that, Mahathir and his delegation attended a reception dinner. Just imagine how long it was yesterday. And this morning, I mean, he woke up early to give a special interview to Thai PBS.
Yes.
And before proceeding to pay a courtesy call on General Panitan Wattanayagorn,
yes,
the Privy Council President, before going to Chulalongkorn University,
yes,
to give an hour-long lecture on Thai-Malaysian relations. Just imagine all the things that you go through in the past 2 days.
Yes. The schedule that Khun Thepchai have just mentioned are official schedule, but if you see between the meeting, he will have sideline meeting as well.
True.
Because
yeah.
I was there in Shangri-La Hotel this morning. He also have a meeting with Chamber of Commerce between Thai and Malaysia and meeting some business people. So that means he didn't have a break between formal meetings at all.
So this is a formal part of it, as what you see on the screen right now, the meeting between the two leaders at the government house.
Yes.
So the highlight of the meeting yesterday, as expected, was how Malaysia is going to help Thailand revive the peace talks in southern Thailand.
Yes.
The talks have been stalled for quite some time now because of internal problems on both sides of the border. And this time around, Mahathir came with a strong commitment that Malaysia will be helping Thailand to make sure that the peace talks will go ahead.
Yes, Malaysia must be keeping close watch on the southern dissident in Thailand, the unrest in the southern part of Thailand, because it's been going on for more than 15 years. 7,000 lives have been lost. And Malaysia is considered this border issue because the people in the northern part of Malaysia is also very much wary of the situation.
I think it's quite clear that Malaysia is increasingly seeing the problem of insurgency on southern border of Thailand as a threat to its own security. And that explains why it is in such a sort of a hurry, I mean, to help Thailand revive the peace talks. Just take a look at what Mahathir said yesterday in the press conference. It's quite interesting that the points that he emphasized about the cooperation that Malaysia will help Thailand.
Yes, especially the point that he made that Thailand helped Malaysia a lot in the past in terms of fighting against terrorism. So this time he considered it obligation that Malaysia should take this turn to help Thailand.
Awesome.
That's what he is trying to say. So that's the press conference, the joint press conference that we expected to see between the two leaders yesterday evening. And this morning he have exclusive interview with the Thai PBS, and then in the afternoon he meet with Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister General Panitan Wattanayagorn, private councillor.
Yeah, it can be described as a reunion of two old friends.
Yes. Because
the two of them were Prime Minister at the same time in early mid-80s. And so the meeting, the courtesy call was not very long, it was quite brief, 15 minutes according to Prem's, one of the Prem's aides.
Yes.
But they took the occasion, I mean, to recount, I mean, the experiences, the relationship that goes back to those days, the heydays when they were Prime Minister.
Yes, and it's quite uplifting in a way to see two old friends. General Prem is 98, Dr. Mahathir, Prime Minister of Malaysia, 93. So imagine how they haven't met for 30 years.
It's true, yeah. Because the last time they met officially must be when they were still Prime Minister.
Yes.
And according to one of Khun Prem's aides, I mean, the two talk about the cooperation that the two countries had when they were both leaders. Don't forget the fact that Thailand under the Prem government played a very important role in helping to disband the Communist Party of Malaya, I mean, which was a threat to Malaysia back then. I mean, that was talking about the early 80s. And Malaysia needed Thailand help in helping end the insurgency. And then, of course, I mean, on vis-a-vis, I mean, Malaysia also helped Thailand in dealing with the problem of insurgency in southern Thailand.
Yes, that's why Prime Minister Mahathir said it's really important to carry on joint cooperative area between Thailand and Malaysia, and he also voiced his support to General Prem for his plan of development in the southern part of Thailand.
Yeah. The reason that why Thai authorities feel upbeat this time around with Mahathir visit because they are quite aware that Mahathir knows the problem on the southern border of Thailand quite well, because he was involved in efforts try to arrange some peace talk back in the early 2000s, shortly after he left office as Prime Minister. He in Langkawi, his hometown, where he has a resort. He helped organize a peace talks.
Yes.
It was a very good effort on the Malaysian side by Mahathir, even though in the end it didn't turn out to be as fruitful as people thought it would be. But this picture is quite the footage is quite interesting. That was in 2006. Mahathir was sitting in the middle with the representatives from Thai government and representatives from a number of insurgency groups attending the meeting. But they managed to talk about the peace process.
Yes.
And managed to sign a joint communique.
Yes.
But the problem is that the people who were active on the ground, committing all the violence, were not involved in the peace talk back then.
Yes.
So the whole process didn't turn out to be of much progress in the end.
Yes, it's still the issue up until now that the involved party have not really participated in the peace talk, and it's the major concern as well. And there is exclusive interview by spokesperson of Patani Malay National Revolutionary Front, or BRN. He just gave an interview for Asia Times, which is very timely given that Prime Minister Mahathir is in Thailand for these very 2 days. Mr. Karim Abdul Khaled said elements of coercion that we see towards parties in the Mara process are not something that BRN views as constructive, noted Abdul Karim. He's spokesperson of BRN, and normally he doesn't really allow any interview, but Asia Times said that this interview happened outside of Thailand.
The peace talks have been going on for quite some years now, but those who are involved in the talks believe that the talks have not produced any tangible results, largely because those who were active on the ground, especially the extremists belonging to BRN, have not been involved in the peace process. And this time around, and the spokesman, the one you see on the screen right now, has come out to warn that don't expect the peace talks to produce any result, concrete result, if proposal from BRN is not taken into consideration.
Yes, I think to read between the lines, he also warned that if the talk doesn't include BRN, don't hope or don't think that you will live peacefully along the border. So that is the warning, or perhaps he just really want to have more active.
Okay. So all eyes are now on Mahathir and Malaysia as to what the next step that will lead to a revival of the peace talks will be. Mahathir this morning gave us an exclusive interview to Thai PBS, Kun Surichai Yun, right? So and a lot of questions have to do with what Malaysia will be doing as far as the peace talks are concerned. Right?
Yes, Kun Surichai asked Prime Minister Mahathir many issues on development, on cooperation, economic cooperation between the two countries. But the most pressing issue is about southern Thailand peace talks, and what's the role of Malaysia in doing this?
Prime Minister Prayut yesterday.
Yes.
And you talked about many things, especially about the South.
Yes.
What did you tell him, sir, about your role in trying or stepping up the pace of facilitating the peace process?
Before, when we were having a lot of problem with terrorists, Thailand helped us a lot, and finally, with Thailand's cooperation, we settled the problem. So now we feel that we have an obligation to help Thailand settle the problem in the south, because this violence will not lead to anywhere.
Yeah.
And see, it's not going to be successful. So it's better for them to negotiate a ceasefire,
Yes.
so that there will be less violence, and this will be good for the development of that part of the country.
Yes. What did Prime Minister Prayut tell you about the process?
Yes.
What did he ask you to do?
No, basically, he's fully supportive, and he appreciates, of course, Malaysia's stand, and that Malaysia have got people who have been, who knows the South very well.
Yes.
So we have appointed a new facilitator.
Yes.
And he says that the presence of troops there are really not against people in the south, but to ensure peace and stability in the south.
Yes.
And I hope, I don't believe that they are meant to suppress the people in the south. But these matters need to be discussed,
Right.
and eventually a ceasefire agreement must be signed.
Well, you have appointed a new facilitator,
Yes.
Rahim Noor.
Yeah.
On the Thai side, also a new head of the working group
Yes.
on the peace process also has been appointed. Do they know each other?
Well, Rahim knows a lot about Thailand, about the leaders of Thailand,
Yes.
even the officers in Thailand.
Yes.
And he understands what it is that Thailand wants to do. And I think he gets along well, because he was instrumental in finally ending the emergency in Malaysia.
Yes. Did you bring him along this time to meet
Yes,
Prime
he's
Minister
here,
Prayut?
he's here, yeah.
Yes, so they met.
Yeah, they met.
And also General Udom Chai, who's a new
Yeah.
facilitator on the Thai side. They have met.
Yeah.
You told me last time when we met that the peace process needs to expand to include more parties concerned. Are you suggesting to the Thai side that they should include more parties in the peace process?
We should try to talk to all the different parties. Unfortunately, the people in the south, they are not represented by just one party.
That's right.
If you have an agreement with one party, the other parties may not agree.
Yes.
So it's better to try and meet all the different parties and to get everybody committed to the peace process.
So you're trying to invite more parties into the process? But because so far the Marapatini, the umbrella organization, has been the main representative in the talk. The BRN just spoke, the spokesman just gave sort of a briefing to the news people 2 days ago, saying that they need to expand the role of mediator or facilitator to include international body of some sort, apart from Malaysia. You think that is possible?
If we see the need, surely we should accept other participants also. But for the moment, there is no concrete proposal.
Yes. The BRN says they have concrete proposals. They say they need, of course, real effort to end violence, and they expect the Thai government to be more open. I'm not sure whether they have proposed any concrete measures to you.
Not after we have appointed Rahim. The previous appointee was by the previous government.
Yes.
I didn't know him. So I'm hoping that with Rahim there, I will be kept informed as to the progress they have made.
But you have connection to a lot of these organizations. They trust you,
Well,
and you may be able to bring them into the process.
I did try once, and we brought them together. There was quite a strong willingness to end the violence, but unfortunately, the other groups do not agree.
So how are you going to convince them now?
We'll try. We'll try.
You know them all, of course. You have connections. Rahim Noor also knows all these organizations. Because the main criticism of the process is that those who are talking to the Thai government do not represent those on the ground. So if they do not represent those on the ground, they cannot speak on behalf of the whole process. Is that the real issue?
That's a problem. There are some extremist groups, for example, they don't want to negotiate or anything. They are very rigid in their approach to the negotiation. In fact, they still believe that through violence they can achieve their objective.
And you think it's not possible? Violence cannot achieve.
Can never solve anything.
And how do we convince them that they should end violence?
Well, we have to talk about our previous experiences. You know, we had problem upon independence. We had problem of confrontation by Indonesia, claims by the Philippines, also claimed by Thailand. And we settle all these through negotiation, not through violence.
There is a proposal of a ceasefire or a safety zone, starting with a certain area, a district, for example. Then, if that works, they can expand it into a wider ceasefire area. Is that what you will be pursuing?
We will have to take step by step. We cannot achieve the whole objective in one go. We have to show the benefits of a ceasefire, for example, in a certain area. If they realize that it is beneficial towards them, then I think they will be more likely to accept the approach that we are going to take.
They might talk about autonomy. Autonomy has many interpretations. What kind of autonomy do you think is workable, is possible?
We have many models which we can copy. Indonesia has shown certain models in the north, in Aceh, for example, and in Yogyakarta. They are still a part of Indonesia, but they have certain authority over that part of the country. Of course, we can modify to make it suitable for both the government and the certain groups. But for that, we'll have to talk to them.
And of course, the issue of development, well-being. You mentioned to me last time that one of the main issues would be how do we make the standard of living of the people down south better? Is that part of the peace process?
There must be something beneficial to them for them to accept any move for a ceasefire. But if they see no alteration in their standard of living and all that, I think they will not be attracted to a ceasefire.
But you have made it a policy that on the Malaysian side, it will be strict enforcement of the law, that there was no suspicion of unofficial support of the rebels once they cross over to the Malaysian side, which in the past was always a suspicion from the Thai side. Have you cleared up that suspicion?
You see, there are dual nationalities among them. They admit to becoming a Malaysian, and yet they hold Thai documents. So we have to settle on this dual citizenship, because they are related, same people,
Yes, yes.
related. They have relatives in Kelantan
Yes.
and also in southern Thailand.
Yes.
So they keep on moving up and down. Whether they are planning for violence or not, sometimes we do not know.
Right.
But the fact is, at the border area, we find a lot of Malays on the Thai side, and a lot of Thais on the Malay side.
Right. And the majority of the people are peaceful.
Yes.
They're just making a living.
Yeah.
Because I know, because I was born near that area, and you too, right? So
Yes.
you know very well that
Yeah.
on the border, people cross in the
Yeah.
morning, back in the evening,
Yeah.
but most of them are peaceful people.
Yeah.
So how do you resolve the dual nationality issue without affecting the relationship?
Well, even if they have one single nationality, it doesn't mean that they cannot move to the other side
Right.
to visit and all that. So they may have relatives on the other side. They want to visit. We can't say no to them. They may be Thai. On the other hand, there are a lot of Malaysians who have relatives across the border, and these people have been living in Malaysia a long, long time. Their
Many
family,
generations.
Many generations. And some of them before were Thai-speaking people.
Yes.
They are Malays, but
Yes.
they speak Thai.
Yes.
And see, and we have also people who are called Sam, which means that they are Malays,
Yes.
but their language is Thai language.
Yes, some chum. They call
Yeah,
it.
Sam. Yeah.
So it's very common, and in fact, it's very healthy for people on both sides. Except that when violence takes place, then you start to suspect that this might be an element of the trouble, right?
Well, we cannot hope to have no extremists. There will be extremists. Very difficult to convince them. But we need to try. If you don't try, then you can resolve
Yes.
the problem.
Yes. Aren't you afraid of penetration of the extremists from outside into the southern part of Thailand?
And there are also that possibility, especially some Islamic terrorists in other countries might want to recruit them. So we do have that problem in Malaysia, and I think also in southern Thailand.
Yes. So if we do not resolve the current problem of violence, it might become an international terrorism issue, right?
Yes, yes.
But you're working.
Huh?
Malaysia working with Indonesia and Singapore against these ISIS elements too,
Yes,
right?
we are. We have to cooperate because they're very mobile. They can move from one country to another quite easily. We don't know what passport they carry, but
Yes.
sometimes as they smuggle themselves in.
You also discussed with General Prayut other issues as well, bilateral issues.
Yes, trade and all that.
Trade,
Investment, and also the bureaucratic procedures for people crossing the border.
They were proposing a 24-hour border crossing. I was there in Sadao, and they had a new building, but they were waiting for the implementation.
Yeah.
What is the main obstacle?
Main obstacle is that we need to have personnel there.
Yes.
And we need to change every now and then.
Yes.
Because if we become too familiar, then wrong things will be done.
And corruption could take place.
Yes, corruption could take place.
So that has been agreed upon, that you would speed things up?
Yes, we agreed to have 24-hour checkpoints.
Also, Thailand will become the ASEAN chair next year.
Yes.
What do you expect Thailand's role to be in some of the ASEAN issues that you think Thailand can help solve or accelerate?
Yeah. We need to think in terms of the unity of the region rather than of individual countries. if you are too very fanatical about each nation, then we cannot work together. And some of us will need to make some sacrifice in terms of our national objectives, so that we can accommodate other nations. Actually, ASEAN is a very big market,
yes,
of more than 600 million people.
Right.
Even if they are poor, their needs must be met,
yes,
and they will need a lot of things which by trading within the nation we can supply them with the little things that they need, and that will contribute towards the growth and development of ASEAN region.
So Prime Minister Mahathir has made it very clear that Malaysia is committed to helping Thailand deal with the problem of insurgency in southern Thailand, but he cautioned against any expectation of a sort of a short-term solution. I mean, he made it clear that it will be, the peace process will be time-consuming. But take a look at what Mahathir said in the joint press conference yesterday. I think he made some very interesting points. I mean, he emphasized the fact that Thailand and Malaysia have a shared history of strong cooperation. Thailand has helped us in many ways before. This is very important.
Yes.
It was in a way acknowledging the role Thailand played in helping the disbanding of the Communist Party of Malaya. That was a key moment in the Thai-Malaysian relationship many, many years back. And then he talked about, I mean, the cooperation between the two countries in the new context. He said that he sees these, I mean, the peace talks that Malaysia will be facilitating as an important display of cooperation. And he emphasized that this is not just a case of, I mean, working or drawing up treaties, but it's a sincere bid by the two countries, I mean, to solve the problem. And then he pledged to help in whatever way that Malaysia can to end the violence in the south. So these are very important 3 points that we summarized from the joint press conference yesterday. And it reflects, I mean, Mahathir's commitment to helping Thailand with this new endeavor in ending violence in southern Thailand.
Yes. So probably this would be a new beginning for southern Thailand peace talks. But what is evolving and what's the implications of his visit to Thailand? Right now, we would have an interview. Let's hear from Professor Panitan Wattanayagorn, advisor to Deputy Prime Minister on Security Affairs. อาจารย์ Panitan, thank you very much for joining us.
สวัสดีครับคุณนัทธาครับสวัสดีครับคุณเทพชัยครับ
Yes.
Prime Minister Mahathir was here and made a strong commitment to help revive the peace talks. So what's next?
I think the next is to work effectively in key areas to delivering groups that are on the ground to meet and talk more successfully. And this will be the next step. Talking for the first time between groups that are not able to talk will be the first priority.
And these groups have been identified already, right? And you know who these people are?
Well, that is correct in general, but we could learn more as the groups are opening up more to open talks. Kun Thepachai, as you know, some of the groups on the ground were based their operations on the secretive factors. But now they need to be more open. It may take time for them to adopt new approaches. So we are hopeful, but we realize that we need to give them more time to adjust to the new approach.
Have they mentioned the name of the group BRN, whether to be having talk in the near future and to be included in the peace process in the near future?
Well, I think we already know some of the individuals, although some of these individuals may move and change the groupings or the names. I understand that they are now creating a new council providing an umbrella, for different groups. So we are waiting to hear the more developments on the ground first. As of now, it's not yet clear on the names, on the new organizations, or on the old organizations. I think we need to wait for some time before that is ready.
Yes, but do you think the structure of the last peace talk will remain with the Mara Patani is still the main group to be considered in the talks?
Well, I think that is the expectation of a lot of people who have spent years working and building up a structure. It will be up to the new head of the team of the peace talk, particularly General Udomchai, to look into that. But we hope that the new team will combine old success with the new, perhaps more hopeful, factors and future.
But do you feel more optimistic now after the visit by the Malaysian leader?
Of course. I think having listened to him, officially and publicly, I think the message is very clear. Malaysia wants to help Thailand to end this conflict, but it's up to Thailand to really work hard with the groups on the ground. I just finished listening to Prime Minister Mahathir at Chulalongkorn University. He gave a public lecture, and the message is very clear.
Do you have a feeling that the new Malaysian government is putting more energy into this peace process more than the previous government in KL?
Well, I think yes, in certainly in the areas of creating new approaches and new mechanisms. But please remember that the previous government also adopted peace talk and also allowed the facilitator to work with Thailand, of course, with the credits to the past government. But certainly this government injects new dynamism, into the talks. The facilitator role is critical. Thailand has always insisted that without Malaysia working closer with Thailand, I think the success will be very difficult to obtain.
Do you see the changing of facilitator on both sides? Malaysia has changed to the new facilitator. Thailand had the head, the chief of the team. Will this clearly speed up the process?
Certainly, I think at first it may take time to set up new mechanisms and new framework. But as we go along in the next few months, I think the new teams will move quite rapidly, providing, of course, the cooperation on the ground. The important thing now is not to build up the new team only, but to cooperate, with different groups or different individual leaders on the ground who in the past had not participated in the peace talk. And this is a critical first test. We need to have a breakthrough in terms of reaching out, to the different groups that didn't participate fully in the last meetings.
Kun Panitan, do you have any expectations as to how soon the next round of talk will take place? Is it possible before the end of the year?
That is one possible time frame. Within a few weeks, we should reach an agreement on how the next talk will be, date, time, the place. I think, but it's up to the new team to work on the details. But of course, the expectation is very high on both sides. I think so. The new team must work hard on this issue. But in the next few weeks, we could hear some good news from them. Let's hope on that.
Professor Panitan, so far have Malaysia made a request to Thailand in terms of working in tandem to fight against ISIS, because Malaysia and Indonesia are working together on this issue?
Well, I think cooperation with Thailand and ASEAN friends on this issue is already been agreed upon in general. So Thailand is working with different countries in ASEAN and beyond, actually, to make sure that this return foreign fighters from different areas to Southeast Asia will be monitored, followed, or eventually contained if possible. For Malaysia in particular, we have common concern because we share borders, and this topic is also highlighted, in the two countries' relations. And I believe from the press conference, this topic is also discussed between the two governments.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment.
Okay, thank you คุณปณิธาน
ขอบคุณครับ
Okay.
Okay,
All
next.
right. Back to Dr. Mahathir. There's one question that he has been asked very, very often since he make a comeback
Yes,
after the
definitely.
May election.
Yes.
That is a question about his health.
Yes, it's very wonderful, and it's amazing for everyone around the world to see him take this post at 92 when he won election, and right now he's 93 years old.
And many people believe that he must have some secret
Yes,
to keep himself physically and mentally fit. I mean, for someone like him at his age, 93, being able to move around and to put up with this very strenuous and schedule as he had to, I mean, on this trip to Thailand
Yes.
the past 2 days. I mean, so there must be something physically and mentally extraordinary about him.
yes. I'm sure that people must have been wondering. So let's hear whether he have his own secret in taking care of his physical and mental health.
You share with us some of your secret formula. What keeps you so healthy and sharp? I'm not sure whether you noticed or not. When Prime Minister delivered his speech, he has no note at all. He's been standing there for 20 minutes without any note. I could not do it. So what is your secret formula?
Well, actually, there is no secret formula.
Oh,
I must admit that I do not smoke, I do not drink. I think I escaped some of those diseases caused by smoking or by drinking. And I live a very conservative kind of life. I don't overeat and get too fat. If you get fat, you live a shorter life. You enjoy better, good food and all that, but I think your life will be shortened if you overeat. So those are the three things that I do. Of course, I do some exercise, but otherwise, because I did not suffer from the diseases that cannot be cured, I have lived a much longer life than people before me. Also today, surgery is very advanced. When I was a doctor, nobody thinks of opening up the chest because then the lungs will collapse and you will die. But they invented ways of circulating the blood and a kind of machine that artificially ventilate your lungs. They were able to cut up my chest twice, actually 3 times, and I had bypass, but I did survive. A lot of people survive nowadays. When I had my heart operation, this was something new, and I had the operation in Kuala Lumpur. Although they say as Prime Minister I should go to Mayo Clinic and all that, I prefer to be operated in Kuala Lumpur.
And now, of course, heart operations are very common. But beyond that, I think it is good to be active. Most people, when they retire, they like to live a sedentary life. They like to sleep a lot. And they don't read and they don't talk with people. When you don't read, you don't write, you don't talk to people, you don't discuss things, your brain also becomes affected. Just like the muscles of the body, if you don't use the muscle, like you sleep all the time, then you become very weak. The strength goes out of the muscles. By the same token, the brain, if you don't use, will also regress. So I like to fight with people. So I have to keep active all the time. I have to answer questions. Among the questions asked is, how do you manage to live so long? I say, don't overeat and make use of your brain. So I think these are something that I believe contributed. Not stopping work after being pensioned off is a very good way to avoid early death.
Thank you.
So it's very simple. Huh?
Yes.
If you want to live as long and as healthy as Prime Minister Mahathir, you don't smoke, you don't drink,
Yes.
you don't eat too much, and you read,
Yes.
exercise, and then use your brain.
Yes.
And that's his advice.
And I think one more thing, keep fighting.
Keep fighting.
He said he really enjoyed fighting. Perhaps that keep him active mentally and physically.
All right. Okay.
And there's no secret. Oh well, so that's the end of our program tonight from Thai PBS World. And we'll have to end this program here. And we'll come back again next Thursday at 6 p.m. And we will say goodbye with the Mahathir meeting with Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha.
Okay, thank you. Thank you and good
Thank you for
night. สวัสดี
watching.
ครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ